Enhancing the previous generation with updated technologies and a thermoformed construction, Gamma introduces the RCF Obsidian, utilizing the same elongated shape and weighing in between 7.9 to 8.3 ounces. The Obsidian features a polypropylene honeycomb core and a T700 raw carbon fiber hitting surface. Presented in 10, 13, and 16 millimeter thicknesses, there's a version sure to complement your game. Tiffany, how are you today?
Can't complain. Great weather.
Great weather. Why don't you start us off today on your thoughts?
Not often that I'm testing 3 different widths of paddles, especially something as thin as a 10. I gravitate toward the thicker paddles. I'm using a 15 millimeter, so I immediately was gravitating toward that 16 millimeter from Gamma, and that actually ended up being my favorite. I was really liking the feel of that one. I also felt it had good control, good stability, and I was really impressed also with the spin.
Yeah, I have played with the Gamma Mirage a long time ago, went to the Gamma 405 recently. That was my paddle of choice. I loved the graphite surface that it had. Considering the carbon craze that's been going on in the industry, it's kind of hard to go back. So I was really looking forward to this play test. I appreciate that Gamma has offered 3 different thicknesses, gives that flexibility in whether you want a little bit more power or a little more comfort. So I thought the 16 really shined. That was kind of the gem of the bunch for me. Great access to power, good control, maybe a little less power than what I'm used to with my Head Radical Raw, but all areas of the core, I was really getting all my shots where I wanted them to. So loved the 16. Now going from the 16 to the 13 was less dramatic than going from the 13 to the 10. The 13, great access to power, obviously a little less control. You're losing a bit of forgiveness outside of the sweet spot. I mean, you could look at the specs and all these things and pretty much know exactly what you're getting. There's really no surprises here with the construction. Now with the 10, that's where it got a little crazy. I mean, there is a ton of power right out of that sweet spot. Anywhere outside that sweet spot, lots of vibration, lots of unforgiveness. So the 10 was something that was a little bit drastic for me. Now, I know you've always been a 10. What did you think about the 10 and the 13?
Well, I probably should have a joke about the paddles going to 11, but there's not an 11 millimeter paddle. So for me, similar response to you as far as hitting with the 10. I did find I was having to dial it back a little bit when I was swinging from the baseline. I wouldn't call them like super powerful paddles, especially after hitting with the gearbox power paddles. Most recently, those felt more powerful than these, so it was easier to control than that. I did find the spin was really excellent across the 3. I didn't find a difference in spin throughout the 3 different thicknesses, but like you mentioned, that 10 millimeter paddle, you could definitely feel where you were hitting on the paddle. If you were missing the sweet spot, you definitely knew it. Definitely had a livelier feel than both the 13 and the 16. And like you mentioned, I also noticed a biggest jump from the 10 to the 13. You also mentioned that carbon surface. I really found it to be super friendly. I didn't notice any difference between the 3 paddle thicknesses from the 10 to the 16. I always thought that the spin was reliable on all areas of the court. The one thing I did notice is that it does appear to wear pretty quickly, but it's really just like a cosmetic thing, and so you could clean that off. Another highlight that I really liked was the handle. I felt like a nice handle. I like the shape, I like the size of it. The only issue for me was the texture on the grip. It wasn't my favorite, so if I were playing with this, I would throw on an overgrip.
Yes, grip-wise, I came from the Gamma 405, which also had the perforated grip. I got used to it. It wasn't really a thing for me, but going from a solid tape to this perforation was noticeable, but it's really easy to replace. Grip length, grip diameter was on point. I really appreciated that. Now you mentioned spin. I thought my serves were getting a ton of topspin, my returns getting legit underspin. I mean, the spin from these paddles was great. I don't feel like the texture on it is crazy. So the construction that Gamma has done here in order to generate that spin, I gotta give them kudos. Yeah, overall, I was really impressed with the 16. It was great from all areas of the court. If you're somewhat inconsistent of a player like myself, the 16 was a gem. If you're a bit more consistent, I feel like the 13 was a really great offering. Just great access to power and then the control. If I was going to pick a 10 millimeter offering, I would probably choose something like the ProKennex Black Ace, but considering that is about $100 more, I think Gamma's done a great job even with the 10. So 16 millimeter was my paddle of choice for this playtest.
Same, 16 millimeter. I thought the 13 was a nice middle of the road paddle, and for the most ball feel and the most power, the 10 would be the option. And that actually, I think, wraps it up for us here with the Gamma RCF Obsidian paddle review. For more information on these paddles or anything else related to pickleball, please check us out at totalpickleball.com.